It's the Rob Carson Show. Are you ready to be pod-smacked? Now, here's Rob Carson.
Welcome to the show, guys. Episode number 166. 166. Glad to have you here. A special edition of the show. If you don't know, I'm an avid foodie. I am a barbecue chef. Been doing this, well, not officially a chef, but I'm pretty darn good at it. And we have a very special guest, somebody who has built essentially the Franklin barbecue. What Franklin is to Austin, Q39 is to Kansas City. It is taking the city by storm. And we're going to talk to the guy who founded it, Rob McGee, in just a second here. Okay. Want to thank our sponsors, Fountain of Life Chiropractic, fountainoflifechiro.com. Dr. Alex Nelson will take care of you. You got migraines, you got neck pain, back pain, low back pain, shoulder pain, carpal tunnel, neuropathy, hip pain, knee pain. You know, Dr. Alex can take care of you. You don't have to go take a bunch of drugs. You can get decompression for herniated low back discs. I'm going to tell you it works. I've got disc problems in my lower neck, and chiropractic fixes it every single time. $30 veterans and veterans family adjustment fees. That's a deal, all right? So go to fountainoflifechiro.com. Check it out. They are at 8335 North Congress Avenue, and their number is 816-741-4711. 816-741-4711. Glad to have them as a sponsor. And now, let's talk some barbecue. Today is a really big day for me because today we have Rob McGee from Q39 in the studio. Hello, sir. Welcome to the show.
Well, what a pleasure to be here.
I got my blues music on here. We're going to talk some barbecue today. I want to say from the very beginning that it is, and I'm not meaning to blow wind up, but it really is an honor to have you in the studio. Been following your success story here in Kansas City since you started. When did you open the first Q39?
3.5 years ago.
3.5 years ago. You've had this meteoric rise. You've become the talk of the town, despite the fact you've got other restaurants like KC Joe's, which have gotten a gigantic amount of buzz. Did you expect it when you launched that restaurant? Did you expect that it would be the it barbecue joint in Kansas City?
Well, I'll tell you, you always hope for the best when you open up a restaurant.
Yeah, man.
And you got good thoughts, but
Yeah.
Where I've risen up to today has definitely far exceeded my expectations.
Well, I have said this many times on my podcast that you have become, like Pappy's in St. Louis. You've become, I'm drawing a blank on Franklin's in Dallas. You're like the Franklins of Kansas City now. And unfortunately, do you hear that they burned down?
No, I didn't hear
They
that.
burned down about a week ago. They got to rebuild Franklin's.
Oh, my God.
You didn't know? Oh, my goodness, yeah. But I'm very, very intrigued by your story because you open, of all things you could open in Kansas City, a barbecue joint. You've got so much competition. Why did you decide, okay, I can do this?
Well, I barbecued on the barbecue circuit for up to 12 years, and I was very successful. So once I opened up, with all my ribbons and trophies and accolades, you had instant recognition right off the bat. Yeah. The other thing is I really thought Kansas City needed a restaurant, not with white tablecloths, but not fast casual. And I thought that part of that market was wide open. Yeah. And so I took advantage of that, and I said, hey, why don't we do full service, keep it casual, make it fun and exciting, a good place to visit. It feels good to go in there, and make sure it's chef driven. So everything that's made, is made from scratch, and it's made from a professional chef.
I was watching you last week. I came in for lunch. I believe it was Thursday that I was in there, and there was a half-hour wait.
There you go.
And I saw you there watching the order, whatever software you have there, watching the orders come up. And the thing that I really love about you, and I've got other chefs, friends who are chefs, nothing leaves that kitchen unless it's right on the money.
Exactly.
You know what? There's no reason why you can't make sure everything out of that kitchen is perfect. And you do.
That's, quality is everything. There's a couple key reasons for a successful restaurant, and one of them is to make sure it's quality. So You want to make it fresh. You want to make it exciting, and you want to make sure that it's really good. And when you expedite on that line and make sure the food goes out, you want to make sure it's perfect because you have guests that are paying for it.
And I'll tell you, like with radio, one bad review is worth 50 good reviews. One bad review is devastating at times. And so you've got to make sure it's perfectly fine. Let me ask you this, Rob. You are a professionally trained chef. I had heard earlier, you're East Coast. You came to Kansas City. Why did you choose Kansas City? And when did you get bitten by the barbecue bug?
Well, I traveled all over the United States being a chef and food and beverage director. Before this, I was in Denver, and then I had a job transfer. I worked for Westin Hotel Company for almost 10 years, and I came and worked at the Crown Center. Then I was fortunate enough to go to the Hilton Kansas City Airport, where I worked for a great company. When I ended up over there, next thing you know, in 2002, I tried this thing called the Lenexa barbecue.
Okay.
One thing led to another. I started off with a few contests a year, all the way up to 42 contests a year.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, that was called infatuation. But, we won #1 team in the nation twice, reserve grand once, and we're in the top 10 7 years in a row. So, why should I open up a barbecue restaurant? Well, it's kind of proven. So why not take all those recipes and everything that we've done, from making rubs from scratch, sauce from scratch, layers of flavor, learning how to cook barbecue just right with a chef's twist, and that's how we ended up with Q39.
It is, I don't know. It's interesting. Let me ask you this. It's so funny. I moved to Kansas City. I'd been away, and I lived all over the country, and I've been preaching the gospel of Kansas City barbecue for a number of years around the country. You can't get it anywhere else. I just like it the best. I've had everything. I've had Memphis. I've had Texas. I've had East Coast, Carolina, all of that stuff. I love Kansas City barbecue. What is it about KC BBQ that attracted you as a chef to take it to the next level?
Well, being here, first of all, when I moved here, I told my wife I was never going to ever move again because it's such a great place to live. Yeah. I mean, the cost of living, the people, the city itself, and it's growing. I've watched the our culinary field, our restaurants grow and grow and grow. And now we have just phenomenal restaurants in Kansas City. Yeah. So when it was time to open up a restaurant, it had to be here in Kansas City because, I traveled so much. I decided, I don't want to move again. Yeah. But then again, I fell into barbecue. So it all worked out. So, there's a reason why they say everything works out for me.
My wife and I, we moved from the D.C. area. And D.C. is a nice area. It's expensive as hell. We moved here, and the schools are just so darn good. And our kids are performing very well. And if they want to go see a show, it doesn't take me an hour and a half to 3 hours to drive there. There's just a lot of really cool things about Kansas City. And it's centrally located, and it's the home of Kansas City barbecue. So yeah, I don't want to move either. I for the first time, and in radio, you move all over the place. So when the idea came around for Q39, for those who don't know, where did Q39 come from?
Well, Q is an acronym for barbecue.
Gotcha.
And 39 was we opened up on 39th Street. So it was real simple. Once I told everybody, it was really easy for them to remember and tell other people.
Yes.
I can't even begin to tell you how many countless hours we talked about what do we want to name our restaurant. And it came down to as simple as Q39.
That is, the name is not easy to come up with. Smokies, Piggies, whatever the hell.
Absolutely.
Listen, because I would like to have a food truck. And I've got some food products that I've got some pickled peppers that are the best jalapenos you've ever had. I call them Carson's Hotties. And then I've got a guacamole that I call guacabages. Okay. And so, these are my things. As far as a restaurant, you've got to, there's a lot of Smoking Guns. You've got Arthur Bryant. You got Gates. You got this. You come up with this kind of, and it sounds, and you're not a tattooed hipster, all right? You're not. You're cool, but you're not a tattooed hipster. And when you hear Q39, you're thinking the Franklin barbecue guys who wear the horn rim glasses and have the full sleeve here. And you're not that. And yet it's amazing. Without the tats, without the gauged ears, you're able to make barbecue cool again. It's kind of funny to see. Okay, you approached investors originally. And maybe you did it on your own. I don't know. What did you do to convince them that you're not like any other barbecue restaurant in Kansas City?
Well, my investor was my banker.
Okay.
So
right, you did it. All right,
so it was me, myself, and I am my banker.
I got you.
I've been cooking, for over 30 years before I opened a restaurant. And we put a business plan together. So a really solid business plan. And it made sense. So we gave it to the bank, who's our partner. And the first thing they said is, absolutely, that's the best business plan we've seen in the last 10 years.
Nice.
And we held true to our business plan. We made sure we followed through with it. Some of the things we underestimated. We underestimated the people coming into the city, the transient, underestimated like to-go, and how popular that is with barbecue. But some of the things we did do right is to make that restaurant a little bit different, chef driven. So an open kitchen. Watch the chefs work. They're not working in t-shirts. They're cooking in chef jackets, chef hats. So very professional environment, but it's casual but yet full service. So if you want to come in and have a craft cocktail when you're having a brisket plate, or burn in burger and get a good nice cold beer, draft beer coming out, it's the place to go.
It's kind of like barbecue meets Ruth's Chris somewhere in the middle there. somewhere in the middle. What time? And it's funny. I have a friend who's an investment advisor, and Chris Butler is his name, and he has a show on KCMO called Capitalist Pigs Radio. He said he can smell in Corporate Woods when you start cooking in the morning. What time do you start cooking in the morning?
I would say the smokers get fired up by 2:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Those smokers keep going until about 8:30, and then we shut them down and clean them. A lot of people ask me, well, don't you have to get your smoker seasoned? No, we clean them so they look like stainless steel, brand new every night.
You don't leave the patina. You don't leave the patina on in there?
Something about old food, putting fresh food on it. I just haven't got that part.
Changing the grease in the fryer. You got to do that every once in a while.
Yeah, there is certain things that are out there I just don't agree with. And then the other thing we do is we cook hot and fast. Nice. I mean, we cook our briskets. They're done in 6 to 7.5 hours.
Really?
So at lunchtime, we have fresh briskets coming out, and dinner, we have fresh briskets coming out.
I want to get to that in a second. I do have to thank the sponsor of one of the sponsors of the radio show, Dr. Alex Nelson. He is a sponsor of the show. It's chiropractic. I would imagine you standing on your feet all darn day. You do. Compressed disc can be a problem. I'll tell you, I have had miracles with decompression for herniated discs by chiropractic. Alex Nelson is a young guy. He's doing a great job. Fountainoflifechiro.com, fountainoflifechiro.com. They're at 8335 North Congress Avenue. And like I said, if you've given up on sciatica, if you're just like you don't know what to go, try chiropractic. I'm telling you, it works for me. Electrical stimulation, $30, veterans and veterans family adjustment fees. It's kind of weird. You lay there and you're like, my neck and I'm this pain, and all of a sudden a little get, and you're, whoa, it's fixed. It's fixed. Fountainoflifechiro.com. Again, fountainoflifechiro.com. Back to smoking. That's a damn quick brisket. How fast? What's the temperature? Because normally, like I did a brisket over the weekend. I did 4 hours with smoke, then aluminum, then 225 for 6 hours. You're doing it in how many hours?
Well, we cook at 225.
Okay.
We cook it for about 5 hours, wrap it up. 4.5,
and
5 hours.
And 225 does it.
225. Once you wrap it up, we put a little smoked beef shoe in it. Once you do that, it turns it into a pressure cooker, basically.
Gotcha.
Shoots that brisket up. Once it hits about 201, we start checking it. It should be ready to go.
Okay. What about pork butt?
Pork butt? That, excuse me, that actually takes a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So we smoke that for 5.5 hours, then wrap it up. But it seems to be real stubborn to get it to that right temperature. I don't know. Could it be the bone in it? I don't know. My bad luck. One or the other.
It could be. Ribbies. You got your baby backs. You got your St. Louis style. Which do you prefer?
We use spare ribs, St. Louis style. The reason for it is has a lot of marbling, a lot of fat.
Thank you.
When you're in a restaurant, it's really important if you're going to go ahead and cook per meal period or 3 times a day for ribs, which what we do. When it comes out, when you hold it, you want to make sure it retains the moisture and make sure it retains the flavor. So the worst thing you want is barbecue that's dry.
Yeah.
So when we get an order, we finish it off on the wood fire grill. We glaze it with sauce,
Sure.
put a little rub on it, slice it up, and boom, there you go.
And also I might mention it's a less expensive cut of meat. I like it. I just think it's terrific. Generally, I do baby backs 3.5. I do St. Louis 4.5. Keep it low and slow. Rub them both. I don't know. There's something about the meat between the bone versus the meat on the bone. They're both great. Don't get me wrong. They're both great. But I just think that the baby back rib is very popular because of Chili's baby back. But the St. Louis style rib is a marvelous cut of meat, and it's huge and it's big. Can I ask you, what do you do when you're trimming up the rib and you got those St. Louis style ribs there? What do you do with that flap that meets the pork belly? Do you do anything with that?
That's a great question. We buy our ribs that is specified to be a St. Louis style right off the bat. Okay. Because the one thing when I open restaurants, it's really important that every menu item works in a restaurant. Don't force something that doesn't work. So baby backs may work for a lot of people, but it wasn't going to work for me the way I wanted to handle barbecue. So back to the St. Louis, whether you had a full spare rib and you want to cut it down to a St. Louis style, some places do riblets, some people do, different, have riblet special for happy hour. But you know what? That's just not the quality we were looking for Q39. We wanted to serve great ribs each bite, and that's how we came up with our spares.
There are a lot of people who say you want to fall off the bone. I say pull off the bone. You want a little tug. You don't want it falling off the bone. I think that's too much. What's your theory on that?
I was in the barbecue circuit for a long time, so it was always the perfect bite. But if I'm at a restaurant and I cook it a little bit more than a perfect bite, I kind of like it because it makes it really moist. It makes it really tender and more moist. If you cook it a little under, even though you're taking a bite off of that rib, it's not as moist. Something happens when you go that extra 5 more minutes on the ribs just to make it that much juicier and more tender.
You got that release of the connective tissue that's just...
Yeah, I don't think you should pick up the bone and it falls down.
No. I don't either.
But I don't mind the second bite it falling off either.
Yeah, exactly. We have an infatuation with pork belly. Now, it used to be just bacon. And they're calling it, they got lardo and they got all this stuff. What is it about lardo?
It's called lardons, but that's okay.
Whatever, lardo. What
Lardo
the hell?
fat.
It's freaking lard. It's fat. God, I've seen it all over. And it's fancy. It's lardo or whatever the hell it is. And that's the stuff it was crap for a while, and now it's like glorious. And I've had it prepared beautifully. I saw you have a smoked and grilled pork belly. You take the pork belly. What do you do with it?
We put our pork rub on the outside and we let that rip in the smoker at 225. It's done about 5.5, 6 hours.
Okay.
And we bring that up to about 190 degrees. Then we actually cool it down and then we slice it. And then when we get an order, we put it on the wood fire grill. So that way it grills it, chars it, adds a lot of flavor, gets some oak flavor from the oak wood. And then we put a light coat of barbecue sauce on it. I mean, talk about best of both worlds. It's grilled and smoked.
Yeah. It is very, and I've done my own bacon and everything. But it is interesting, the infatuation we have with pork belly now, out of nowhere. I remember when I was growing up in Iowa, grew up in Iowa, and every you'd hear the market report, and it was always pork belly selling at what. I didn't know what the hell that meant. Beef. Let's talk a little bit about beef. I know you do you do a what is it?
Beef jumbo short rib.
Okay, the short ribs. Okay,
and then of course brisket and burn.
God bless it. Beef short ribs. What about just big beef ribs? You don't do do you do the big ones?
I just do a jumbo beef short rib.
Okay.
So by the time you get it, it's about 20 ounces. Okay. I mean, they're phenomenal.
That's pretty big. That's pretty damn big.
It's like burnt end with a little bit of different texture. You get a lot.
How do you treat beef differently than pork?
Well, every different cut of meat and every different animal, you got to, take care of it differently. So our brisket, we want to make sure that, when we cook it right. The thing with brisket is you've got two separate cuts of meat. You've got the flat and you got the point. And each one of them are very delicate. You got to make sure you cook it right. We only cook whole briskets at my restaurant.
Good.
And the reason for that is we think that that's the best quality for both pieces of meat. So the reason why we don't have burn ends all day long is because we only cook whole briskets. And there's a certain amount of burn ends you get per brisket. We have allocated that into the restaurant. You'll see burn end burgers. You'll see brisket plates with burn ends and sliced burn end sandwiches. The reason why we don't have a burn end appetizer is we couldn't keep up with it.
Oh, dear Lord, no.
And
listen, I've been around the country. I've lived in Cincinnati and Minneapolis and Washington, D.C. and all that. And you cannot, the last time I tried burn-ins outside of the KC area, I was in D.C. and Famous Dave's had a burn-in platter. And they were this big, and I was like, are you kidding me? You can't get them anywhere like you can in KC.
A lot of restaurants just chop up flat and, point, put it together and call it burn ends. Really, that's not burn ends. I mean, you really want to use the point. The point has the most marbling in it. The difference, what we do compared to other restaurants and other places around the United States, is we don't separate it and put it back in the smoker for 2, 3, 4 hours. We take it, separate it, we take all the fat off, but then we put it on our oak grill. So it chars it kind of like a steak flavor. So you've got smoke and bark on one side, and you got char on the other side. So you know what? You get two great flavor profiles.
You got the caramelization. That's spectacular. Let's talk a little bit about chicken. I know that the American Royal, they use thighs. I know that you have a chicken platter where you have leg, thigh, breasts, the whole deal. What about chicken in the smoker?
The first thing that's important with chicken is we brine it. And then we think that's a great way to do it. Right. When you brine it, you put flavor straight through the chicken, which a lot of times, when you taste chicken, it's like, yep, that's chicken, that's rub, that's sauce. But when you brine it, that flavor of salt with a little bit of sugar goes straight through that chicken. Then we take it and put it in the smoker. You're only going to get so much smoke on a piece of chicken. Yeah. And then we put rub on it. We let it rip
you don't get the smoke.
Done.
You don't get the smoke ring on the chicken.
Well, actually, it does it starts turning pink on the inside.
Okay,
so it can
be
it can be misleading that people think it's not done, and it is. So you do get that smoke ring.
Interesting.
But what we do at the end, after we smoke it, we'll hold it. When you order it in the restaurant, we put it on the wood oak grill. So we get some good char marks on it with just a light coat of barbecue sauce just before it goes out. So it tightens up the skin. But yet you can still bite through it, and it gives it a lot of flavor by adding that char to it.
I love it when it's like a juicy piece of chicken off the grill,
and that's what brining does. I mean, brining,
I love it.
Holds in the moisture.
I would assume it would.
Yep.
I would assume it would. Okay. Sides. Everybody's got sides associated with barbecue. From the big thing here is cheesy corn. You don't do cheesy corn.
No, we don't.
You don't do. I'm not a big fan.
Well,
if it's done well, I just haven't had it done that well. I went, I've got to have cheesy corn.
Sure.
Sorry, dude. That's the way it is. But you when you're coming up with sides, what were you inspired by? Because you've got the smoked and grilled pork belly. God bless it. You got pork belly and sausage corn dogs.
Aren't those cool? That's an appetizer.
Oh, hell yes.
Dynamite. So what we do is we take pork belly after we smoke it, we cube it, and then we take our homemade sausage. We turn it into kind of like a little small ball and smoke it. Then we dip it in corn batter, and then we fry it. And then you get mini corn dogs and serve with barbecue sauce and maple syrup. I mean,
syrup. That's the maple syrup. I love it, dude. That's spectacular.
Well, that's the thing about Q39. We do a lot of whimsical, fun stuff that no one else does. So, and then the sides, we were talking about the sides. Some of the sides that are very different at our place is we like to do our sides and put a twist on it.
Yeah.
So, the coleslaw is made with fresh Granny Smith apples. So it cuts through the mayonnaise.
Love that.
And it's really tasty.
Love that.
For a bean, I also came up with a bean cassoulet.
I saw that.
It's dynamite because you know what? It's made without any sugar. So it's onions, garlic, thyme, tomato, and our homemade smoked sausage. and it's dynamite. We make all our beans from scratch. It all comes in from dry, and then we soak it and cook it. So, so it's very unique.
Your fries are ridiculous, by the way. Your fries are ridiculous. I won't ask you to give up all your secrets, but are they coated? What is that? Why? How do you get that? I don't know. What do you do? Because I've had boardwalk fries on the East Coast. I've had every kind of fry. Yours are just like boom. I don't know. I love them.
I think what makes the fry is having a good dipping sauce. I mean, we take ketchup and we mix it with chipotle puree.
Good.
So when you dip it, all of a sudden you're wondering about the fry, but it's actually both. The seasoning on the outside of the fry has some garlic, some onion, some black pepper, and salt. So it's just not salt on a French fry.
Your sauces, I had a few of them the other day, and they don't seem as hyper sweet as Kansas City barbecue sauces. Because I tell you, there are some that it's just too much. It's all brown sugar. It's all molasses. When you were developing your sauces, what was in mind as you created them?
You know what? Fruit, sweet, and spice is what I was after. And that's our classic barbecue sauce. My classic barbecue sauce goes with everything. Once you start getting sweeter, we also have a honey glaze. Honey glaze goes really well with chicken. And it really goes well with ribs. So you just put a light glaze on the outside. When it comes to pork, we have a zesty sauce. Zesty, the reason why it's zesty is a little bit more spice. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit thinner, and it's made with more vinegar in it.
Yeah, I noticed that it's not ketchupy. It was a much thinner sauce, and I liked it. Well, it was great.
What's really neat with pork, and you got to give those guys credit on the East Coast or Carolinas because they use a lot of vinegar, and what happens is you get a pop from the sauce, and then it disappears, and then you can taste the pork or the smoked pork flavor, and that was the reasoning behind coming up with that sauce. Now the other one, I don't know if you tried it, was the chipotle cilantro sauce.
I did not.
Okay, so I did work in Texas for 10 years, so having some of those Southwest flavors are really neat.
So do you, when you're making that sauce, do you add the cilantro at the end so you don't bruise it, kind of thing?
Yeah, we actually do not make that available for the guests to purchase, but we put the cilantro in it, and the flavor of the cilantro doesn't come out until you heat it up.
Gotcha.
So it's layers of flavor.
I love cilantro. Barry says, just logged in. When are you opening an OP? Barry, they've been open. When did you officially open an OP?
We opened 30 days ago. So.
Barry, get off your ass and come on, man. Get with the program.
Come on, college in Antioch, Barry. Work with me.
Oh, and it's so glorious. When I heard that you were opening at Hayward's old location, I went, oh, the clouds parted and all that. Greg Hudson says, got to come to KC. Ryan says, hello, guys. Watching you. He's watching in D.C., by the way. This is kind of the business aspect of it. You open it. This Hayward's location over here. I remember I walked in, and nothing against Hayward's, but I remember my first move, and I walked in, I was like, it's empty in here. There were some things that you can tell when you walk into a restaurant, ain't working. And I didn't even bother eating. I just knew I wouldn't want to eat there. It seemed for you to take a long time to get this restaurant and OP done. Why? Am I exaggerating, or was the process with the building and the codes and all that was a little bit more difficult than maybe you expected?
For sure. It put me back 6 months than what I planned on opening up.
Dude, I drove by that damn restaurant 50 times waiting for the sign, and I'd see
me too
bobcats outside and backhoes, and I'm like, oh Lord in heaven, when is this going to be done? Go ahead and continue your thought. I'm sorry.
Well, the process started. I dealt with Mr. Hayward himself. Matter of fact, he was in my restaurant today. Talk about a great legend and a master of barbecue. I mean, talk to him. He gets so inspired every day. I feel like running back there and cooking a whole nother meal period. But we started the process. We purchased it from him, and one thing led to another. The approval process.
Let's say you're an industrial designer and you're ready for a change.
What KCMO was. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, it's just different.
They can be a little uptight in Overland Park. They could be. I mean, they're like, we can't have the lines in the sidewalk more than 3 feet. I mean, what are you thinking here? So, OP I'm just saying, no, you don't have to comment. I've just heard from other business owners, and they're they've got a plan. You got to abide by the plan. Why did you obviously, other than, the demographic, the money, it's a big county. You looked at Overland Park, you went, we got to go there too. Because KC's done really well for you. But OP, as your second choice, why, other than maybe what I've already said?
Well, actually, there's three things I look into a restaurant that makes our restaurant, our barbecue restaurant, so successful here in Kansas City. Number one is you've got to have a good business district. So we've got Corporate Woods, a lot of businesses around.
Yeah.
So that takes care of your lunch business. The second thing you need is a lot of rooftops, right? So that's residential area. I don't like going into a residential area hoping it's going to build out, or they will build out, or we have X amount of houses getting built. I like to go into established neighborhoods, and that's what College and Antioch's all about.
That's what this house was built in 1987.
Yeah.
It's got a bunch of different people here. You've got retirees here. You've got young people moving in and all that. So it's not brand new housing. It's close to brand new housing. Don't get me wrong. You're going to bring those folks in from South Johnson County. And it goes south 20, 30 miles. So how is it working, if you don't mind my asking? Johnson County Chamber.
You forgot my last thing. I got to finish my thought.
Finish it.
Sorry. So I said there was three things. I gave you two.
Span of a
hey,
gnat. Go ahead.
we want to make sure your listeners hear all this.
Gotcha.
Go
And
ahead.
then
the last thing is the business travel person.
Okay.
We've got Overland Park Convention Center. We've got 3 large box hotels and a lot of limited service hotels. So when you come to Kansas City, there's 2 things you want to do. One, business/family. Number 2 is you got to eat barbecue. So that's why our restaurant is strived to where it's at.
I was thinking about this the other night, and I'm sure it's already being done. Barbecue tours for Kansas City, bringing people in. I'm if I were going to, barbecue tourism to me, gigantic. Are there any tours right now going on that you're a part of, or have you heard anything? I'm just asking off the top of my head here. I don't know.
We've had a couple buses come in and do special tastings, passing through Kansas City. We enjoy doing that. We are not part of they do have some bus tours that goes to different restaurants. We've marketed our restaurant, Q39, to come to a full service, restaurant, casual, fun, chef driven.
Yeah.
So we're going to stay on that path. So I like what they do. It just hasn't fit into our business plan yet.
Gotcha. I know some people who are restaurateurs. I've got a friend in D.C., Ted Xenocristos, who owns a restaurant chain called Cava, and it's expanding across the country. Do you have plans for, I know you're focusing on these 2 restaurants, but are you seeing maybe the possibility of expanding not only in Kansas City, but maybe elsewhere?
Yeah, it's definitely part of our business plan to keep going. The second restaurant, we're doing really well after 1 month. Trying to work out the bugs of a new restaurant, especially hitting the ground running as soon as you open the door. So that has been a challenge in itself. We are looking, once again, we're looking for those 3 things that make my restaurant successful.
Gotcha.
So where could that be? Some places to open up is great for dinner, but not for lunch. The business traveler's not there.
Gotcha.
So we want all 3. Thoughts of going out to Colorado, since I was there for a year, and to Denver. I love that. So that's on my bucket list, and so is Chicago. The only problem with Chicago is how much you have to pay per square footage for rent. It's just pretty up there. And
with Colorado, because pot is legal, you could do all sorts of weird stuff. Like, here's a brisket burger with Cheetos on it.
Well, if you get them to smoke it before they eat, it might up my average check.
I also want to mention you've got your line of sauces out now, and that's another part of it. The whole products that you're going to put on store shelves. How has that process been for you to get it bottled and to get it on store shelves?
We actually sell our sauces at our restaurant.
Okay.
Our sauce is probably the most expensive barbecue sauce made in Kansas City.
Yeah.
The barbecue store does keep our sauce, and they do sell a lot of sauce. And that's the only other place that we
You got
sell.
that little bottle that looks like a pint of bourbon, which is cool.
Well, it looks really good, like a flask,
Oh,
right?
hell yeah.
The only thing you're swigging barbecue
You
sauce.
might want to do a shot of it.
Why not?
It's that good.
I'm going to go with the zesty myself.
Well, I think it's a good idea to sell it in your restaurant. There are so many sauce Saucepreneurs. How about that? That's mine. Okay, that's mine. Saucepreneurs. I went to Original Wands the other day and visited Original Wands. They have all these hot sauces and all these things. There are several bottlers of local sauces. You don't need to tell me who's bottling your sauces, but you obviously have your recipe. Took you probably how long to make the recipes that you have?
Let's see. I started barbecuing in 2002. Our secret name for my barbecue sauce is the 07 barbecue sauce. At the end of 07, we came up with this barbecue sauce, and then the next year we won Team of the Year. So that's when it was established. So 5-6 years. So the other thing is before that, we actually established all our rubs. And then when we kept on the barbecue circuit, we kept refining it. So it kind of changed year after year to make it better and better and better. And that's what made us do so well.
What about as far as rubs are concerned? Traditional Kansas City rub, obviously, paprika, brown sugar, garlic powder, onion powder, maybe a little chili powder. You know that. What are your little tweaks? Can you give me an idea? You know, I mean, I know there's got to be a different rub for rib or for brisket. Got to be a different rub for, pork. What sort of little tweaks? And I don't need you to give me your recipes, but what sort of tweaks do you have?
Well, if I didn't mention it, coming up in this career, I've spent a little over 10 years in Texas. I was in Houston and Dallas. So I picked up a lot of Southwest flavors. So into my rubs are Southwest flavors. So we do have different types of chilies in there, whether it's chipotle, ancho, other spices like that. That I use for ribs and brisket, and also on my chicken. So it's not one rub. There's little tweaks and differences for each one. One's a little sweeter, one's a little saltier. One has a little less spice. Now on my pork, the other one, a lot of black pepper, a lot of robust spicy flavors, which put a great pork bark on it.
Yeah.
So so we do have different rubs for different applications for sure.
I've heard things like maybe a little coffee on a brisket. Have you ever done that?
I have. I'll be quite honest. I don't get the flavor that people are saying they're drawing from.
Does it make it too butter or too bitter?
Maybe I just didn't use enough, or maybe I should have used Starbucks dark black. I don't know.
Yes. A couple of other questions, and I greatly appreciate your time today. On a daily basis, say for instance at your Overland Park location, how many pounds of meat do you go through?
Oh, wow. A lot. A lot. I mean, just in briskets alone, we'll go through 110 whole briskets in both locations on a Saturday. Wow. On a light Saturday, it'll be 95 briskets. So, each one that comes in is probably an average of 15 pounds. So if you do the calculator, there you go. How much?
Yeah, man.
I mean, so racks of ribs can be anywhere. On a slow day, we could go through 90, and then on a busy day, you're going through 250 racks of ribs.
I'll bet.
But there's other restaurants that even go through more than that. But our restaurant and our menu is so well diversified.
Yeah,
it's so much fun. Try different items.
You get all these sandwiches, and it's not just about the standards.
Exactly,
it's not just about the standards.
So it's all those twists and having fun. You come in our place and you're like, well, what just happened with the brisket sandwich and a half a rack? Well, if you come in ours, you get all these fun different sandwiches.
Yeah. I love it. I mean,
we talked about the burn-in burger, right?
Dude. Epic.
We've done so well with that we actually built a butcher room in our new establishment, which is temperature controlled. And so we grind our own hamburger meat, which is half chuck and half brisket. Okay. Now, brisket has a different enzyme in it than just chuck meat, just like a lot of people like to use short rib in it. So we use brisket and chuck meat, and we grind it 50-50, combine that together. Then we cook it over an oak grill. Then we top it with sliced burnt ends, classic sauce, and a spicy pickle slaw. Bam! You got to try it.
It's ridiculous.
You got to go.
Now, what is that? Because the brisket, depending on what it is the lower fat content. So does that bring it down from 85-15 to maybe a 90-10, or is it still pretty fatty?
No, the brisket is actually adding more fat.
Is it really? Okay, all right.
So we do not trim our brisket when we put it in. Now, this is the great thing about that. So instead of 80-20, it may be more like 75.
Why not?
25. Now, here's the best part about it. So we'll make 8-ounce burgers, but it's cooked over an oak grill. So then the fat drips out of it, which is a lot of flavor, and it goes down onto the oak. Then it shoots back up, and we call them flavor bombs, hits the burger and puts all this great oak flavor to it.
Yeah.
By the time you're done cooking your burger, you're back down to a 7-ounce burger with great flavor.
Do you? Let me ask you this: as a chef at a barbecue restaurant, because I've had many chefs in my home for dinner, and I'm a cook. What is your guilty pleasure outside of barbecue? Outside of what you cook? Because I'll tell you what, number one with the chefs that I know, Kraft macaroni and cheese. No. I've had friends. A few years ago, I had a 5-star restaurant chef comes to my house. I had him over, made a great meal, and I'm making mac cheese for my son. And he goes, can I skip the dessert and just have a bowl of the mac cheese?
Oh my god!
And I gave him the Kraft mac. What do you like? What do you like other than Q?
You know what? It seems to be a rritual at my house. We always do steaks. I just put
bless the dead cow.
I just put a wood fire grilled steak in my backyard.
Oh, hell yes.
But I like to cook at least 1.5 pounds to 2 pound steak. Okay. So what I do is I grill it on each side, get a great char flavor. Of course, season the heck out of it because it's so thick. And then I cook it until it's about medium rare. Then I let it rest for 5 to 10 minutes. Then instead of eating a whole steak that's 2 pounds, we slice it.
Thank you.
And when you slice it, you get two things. You get the char flavor of a steak,
you bet.
But then you get the roast flavor of the meat, which makes it nice and tender. Even if you don't use like a CAB brisket or a Kobe or a prime, and you're just using a choice brisket, it makes it perfect. So
we never, whether it is flank, whether it is ribeye, whether it is whatever, although I do reverse it. I do it off heat. Bring it up to $1.30, and then I sear at the end. So it's a little different. But I used to think, by God, I'm going to eat the whole damn steak. If it's 22 ounces, it's my steak. And then I went, no. Slice it, lay it out on the plate.
Perfect.
And if you want a little more, you can have a little bit more.
You bet.
Oh, Lord, I'm with you 100%. One other thing, injecting meats. I've got a problem with it. It happens at the American Royal. I was there last year, and I just... You may disagree. I was very upset with all the doctoring that takes place with brisket. What do you think about injecting the meat? And why can't we just stick with the smoke and the seasoning on the exterior? Go ahead.
You know what? I think there is no right answer there. I think when you inject brisket and you're using phosphates, what it's doing is it's allowing that moisture, what you're injecting, to go into the cells of the brisket. So all you're doing is maximizing the amount of moisture in a brisket. Such a flat is a dry part of the cow, of the piece of meat.
Yeah.
So when you do that for the flat, it makes sense. Now, for the burnt ends, I don't think you need to do that because there's so much marbling. The other thing is, I was on the barbecue circuit for a long time. You're looking for that one big bite. So, there's a lot of flavors packed into it. I think you're good for a couple bites, but you're not going to eat a whole meal from it. But you're trying to win that from the judges. I
know. It just bothers me. I mean, they were like surgeons. I walk around, they look like freaking surgeons. They had this, and they're slicing, and it's just, I don't know. It kind of bugged me, but
might be over the top.
It is. But I greatly appreciate you coming in today. It's been a joy talking barbecue with you. I wish you continued success. As somebody who is a cook. And somebody who admires great chefs and entrepreneurs. I really admire what you do.
No, thanks so much.
Cool.
It's been a pleasure.
I would love to have you come over. I'll make you some dead cow.
Okay.
I make some damn good dead cow.
All right.
Will you wait till I dry age a ribeye in my outside fridge at 36 degrees for 60 days?
All right.
We'll do that. Rob McGee, thank you very much. Again, check out Q39KC.com. 2 locations, one downtown, one in Overland Park. Thanks for joining us tonight, guys. Thank you, Rob. And you can see this video on a variety of different websites. Just keep an eye out for it. In the meantime, take care of yourselves.
Thanks for listening to The Rob Carson Show. Friend him on Facebook at Carson Show, on Twitter at Rob Carson, and on Instagram, I think Facebook and Twitter are enough for now. We'll see you soon.